You know, the interesting thing...
I'm sorry. It's too entertaining of a mental image. It's effervescent. It's voluminous. Welcome back to the Beer Brackets Pub, everybody. This is a very, very special episode. I could not be more excited, buddy, because today we are reviewing a beer that to be honest with you, I didn't think we'd ever have the opportunity to review. And there's a reason why, because this beer right here is not available in Canada. I cannot get this beer in the country where I currently live. And so I had to go on a beer adventure, my friend, and I have the most epic beer adventure.
Pilgrimage. A pilgrimage.
It's a beer hunt. Yes, a pilgrimage, but it was a hunt. But it was an unknowing hunt, buddy. It wasn't something that I expected. So I was on vacation with my family. We're down in the Catskills in New York State. And so we're driving from Hamilton, Ontario, where I am, across the border through Buffalo, down to New York. And we get to the Catskills, which is like this very rural, forested area about 2 hours away from New York City, about 2 hours west. And really, when I say rural, like there is nothing around. It's like forest. Cottage country. And we're starting to get like closer to this Airbnb, this little house that we rented.
Forest beers.
Exactly.
That's
buddy.
what I'm thinking.
Yes, 100% forest beers. But we're starting to get closer to this house. And not only have we not bought our groceries yet, so we're looking for a grocery store, but I haven't bought beer for the forest vacation yet. Yeah. So right? So this was urgent. My friend. I needed beers for this weekend.
It's like, what's happening?
Exactly.
Less options as we're going.
So we're in the middle of nowhere in the mountains in the forest, and we come across this little gas station. I go into the gas station, and my wife starts looking through the food and everything to stock up, and I see doors, like the automated glass doors to a beer fridge in the back of the gas station. It's like, oh. But yes, for two reasons. One, because the automated sliding doors, but also the beer hunt, my friend, because like my brain automatically goes to the beer hunt. And like, I'm in a new state, I'm in a new place, a new country. What beer treasures could I possibly find in this magical beer fridge in this gas station in the middle of nowhere? And there was plenty of local craft breweries, and I found an amazing brewery called the Westkill Brewery. I'll get to that another time. But I saw this beer on the shelf, my friend, the Sierra Nevada Torpedo. And it was there, just glowing. And I was like, this is going in my beer cellar.
I know that feeling, my friend. Isn't it a fantastic feeling when you're like almost like tiptoeing into, and then you see it there, like, and it's just calling your name.
And then you see that beer on the shelf, and it's like it's glowing, and you just add it to your beer inventory. It's just
item acquired.
So obviously we've already talked about the Sierra Nevada Brewery on the channel before when we reviewed their pale ale. So if you're curious about a full background and history on that brewery, go check out that review. I'll put a link to it down below in the description. But my friend, their Torpedo, the Extra IPA, is special because there's a certain piece of machinery that the beer is named after that you can tell us about, right?
That is exactly right, my friend. So you might think, like, why Torpedo, right? Well, they have this, they invented this device, which I find like fascinating. When you think about like beer in general, right? Like even if you're using hops, like in whatever shape or form, like, you're dropping them into the beer, and then, they're going to eventually like somehow like, venture towards the bottom, right? So, but the thing is, what you want to try and do is to extract as much flavor from those hops. And this is where, like, at Sierra Nevada, they knew what they were doing, and they invented this perfect machinery that resembles a torpedo, so like the shape of the it's pretty cool. Exactly. And what it does allows you to have, like, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read it on the website, 70 pounds of hops, 75 pounds, I think 75 pounds of whole cone hops that are packed into this in this torpedo like shape, and the beer is
like a beer missile.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beer missile. That's what it is. It's the best beer missile, because the beer is then coming through and getting infused in those hops without those hops like getting fully like smashed towards the bottom. So it really gets and captures all those aromas from the hops.
It's like a beer tea. Like I think you made this analogy before we started filming. It's like tea bagging. It's a beer tea.
Absolutely. Exactly. So imagine like the tea bag, right? Like you're not pouring just your tea and just let it settle on the bottom. You want the tea bag and let it settle in there, so the tea bag is holding it. This is the equivalent. It's the torpedo. It's the
That's beautiful.
Push to the limits. So
I love it. I love a good beer tea bagging. Let's just crack these beers open. I am dying to try the famous Torpedo. People have been mentioning this in the comments on our videos for so long, how we have to try the Torpedo. The Torpedo is some people's favorite beer from this legendary brewery. Let's crack them open, buddy. Let's give it a try.
Let's do it. It's time. I did notice that you still have the, apparently they, in the meantime, between your acquiring of the can and they did a little can restyle here.
You know why? It's probably because this is a forest beer. The forest beers are a little behind the times. That's why.
That's true. That's true. But
that's really cool, though. I haven't seen that new rebrand.
Isn't awesome. It nice? Like I'm just going to show it here on camera. Like it has like a little bit of the.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I still got the old
on the back, like with the Raider and
sort of traditional Sierra Nevada branding here.
But still 7.2%.
Coming in at a strong 7.2, my friend. Purest ingredients, finest ingredients.
One thing that I don't remember if we mentioned it in the review, but I love that on every one of their cans, like they have family owned, operated, and argued over, which is a beautiful, beautiful statement.
Isn't it right? Oh my God, this smells amazing.
Look at this head on the beer.
I can't even see the beer.
Right.
And it exploded when I opened it too. Maybe this is from the forest air. Being a forest beer, it's a little excited. This beer has traveled with me across many states and many provinces and borders. Aroma cheers.
Aroma cheers, my friend.
Oh, jeez, it's like half head. That's when you know that's a sign of a good beer.
Oh yeah. Is
this can conditioned like the pale ale?
So it doesn't say, and I wasn't able to find on anything in any information on the website. So I'm going to say no, just because there's no mention of it. The pale ale is quite unique because I think it's more something they did to stick to tradition. They've always been doing that since day 1 or 2, we can say.
I see.
Because actually the first beer that Sierra Nevada ever brewed was if I'm not mistaken, was a stout. And then the second run was the pale ale. But
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, but I might be wrong. So if you know, please write it down.
Let us know down below.
Ooh, I've told you how much I like their celebration IPA. I've started realizing that a lot of times when I think about like certain styles of beer, I think about certain specific beers. And in my head, when people say West Coast IPA now, this is the type of aroma that I picture. So that kind of piney, raisiny, which you might like or not, but in a sense, like they are so well portrayed in this aroma. Like you have that initial hint of hops that is very pungent. It almost hits your nose almost like pungent. A spice. And then it turns into this grassy, piney presence. Very subtle, but also with very nice and rich malty aromas, which is something that I like. Like that there's this biscuity character to it.
God, you're making me want to take a sip.
I think you are too, not like a huge IPA fan in general. So I think the pungency of the hops it's a little much, but I do recognize the quality of it. So I think I'm going to start with the 2.5 here, my friend, because the quality is very high. I really like it. It's just the fact that the strong hop presence is probably just not me. What do you think?
Now, this is only the second Sierra Nevada beer I've ever tried, obviously next to the pale ale. I'm starting to see a common thread here. I think there's a consistency in the character of the Sierra Nevada beers from what I've seen so far. And again, I've only tried 2, this being the second one. But there is sort of like a rich, floral, fruity, bready, cakey kind of character that I think has so far been consistent with all their beers on the aroma that I'm really liking. And it's kind of like really unique to Sierra Nevada. So when I'm looking at grading an aroma, one, I always say, does it make me want to go in and take a sip? And if I'm grading this against other IPAs, I got to say, yeah, it's really making me want to go in and take a sip. For an IPA aroma, this is pretty unique. The beer's been open for a little while now, and maybe I'm just getting accustomed to the aroma, but the first whiff I took, it was really striking. Like raisiny, fruity, bready, hoppy, all in one. A little floral. It was beautiful. I'm going to give it a 3-on-3 aroma as far as IPAs go, my friend. This is delicious. So let's see where it goes from here. I'm excited. Pretty high scores to start with, buddy. Cheers. Let's take a sip.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, the finish is going to be something.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to be something to talk about.
You know it. So taste is quite striking because, from the aroma, you would think that one of the first things you're going to taste is that strong hop presence, bitter, and et cetera. But that's not what you taste at all.
No.
I like the descriptor you use about like cakey because in a sense it has a little bit of a sweet element, but it comes across like very balanced with the breadiness, and which is something that I really like about Sierra Nevada. They use hops like wisely. They don't overpower you with the hops.
100%. They do not assault you with hops. They use it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly.
Wizards. Sorry? No, where?
Hop
but
wizards.
I do get a lot of that like pine, in raisiny, piney notes.
Yeah.
Really, really strong. But the malt is there to back it up. Turns into raisin is another good like descriptor that you use that I like. Cake raisins. And then you get this floral element. It's like walking into... I don't know if you ever had this experience, but like when up in the mountains, like you walk in, there's a lot of, obviously pines, like, and fern trees, like that. There's a very unique raisiny experience of walking up high in the mountains.
I like this theme of mountain beers that we're keeping in this episode.
Yeah, but that's what it is. That's what it is. And you're walking into this beautiful shaded patch of pines, and you can feel that like smell like in this beer.
You can.
On the aroma, it was a little bit pungent for me, but taste for me is a 3.3, a 3-on-3. Sorry.
Did you say you gave it a 3.3?
I did, my friend, a 3.3, but it's actually a 3-on-3. As the excitement of the moment here.
Jeez, you got excited there, buddy. You got excited there. I must say, I really love this whole theme of forest beers that we have going on. It's fantastic. I love a good forest beer, as you probably saw in Beer Brackets of the Month, episode 11. In Tint, if you haven't seen that episode, go watch it. You will not be disappointed. That was quite the beer journey, and some epic forest beers were drank in that episode. Dude, I think that the taste on this beer is something unique, but not unique enough for me to necessarily go up to a 3 like I did with the aroma. Because the aroma is fantastic. I think the finish is fantastic on this beer. The taste is very Sierra Nevada in the sense that, like you said, they don't assault you with the hops. The hops are perfectly balanced. The nice maltiness. And I think this comes from the fact that they use the full cones. From what I was reading. I am not a hop expert by any stretch of the imagination, or a brewer by any stretch of the imagination, but I do occasionally do my beer research, and I was reading that the full cone aspect of what they use is a relatively unique in giving this certain character that you get in the Sierra Nevada beers, and because you get like that pininess, but you also get the raisiny, that sort of sweet dark fruit. It's like you get this well-rounded hop experience where it's not just sort of like a processed, sharpened, bitter hop flavor that kind of just stings your palate. It's delicious as far as IPAs go, and especially as far as extra IPAs go, or double IPAs, or however you want to extrapolate your IPAs. I'm going to go with a 2.5. This is up there. It's pushing. It's not quite perfect. Not quite, but it's close. And I'm surprised that an extra IPA, for somebody who doesn't enjoy IPAs as much as I do, is doing this well so far. So kudos to Sierra Nevada. For now, we're at the Mouthfeel section of our programming for today. You know what we have to do with this? We have to do a little beer bracket tradition.
Refresher. Our most established
Give it
tradition.
A little shake. Very well established.
Right?
Over the course of many, many beer years. Well, I can see the beer wheels are in motion in your mind there. I can see. Your beer beard is is waving in the wind a little bit. It's rustling. There's a rustling.
It is.
See it. It's almost like you watch Futurama, but Zoidberg.
That's exactly what's happening here. The beer is like.
Yeah, his.
Oh, that's hilarious. So Mouthfeel. I will say it's hard to be in the moment after that.
I love how we do.
I'm picturing.
I love how we do the transition for Professor Zoidberg to so. Yeah, just to so mouthfeel.
So the mouthfeel.
But I could see your beard twitching, if you will.
It's
with information. It's processing information.
That's where the I don't have neurons up here. They're all in the beard.
They've gone from the scalp down into the beard.
That's it. Like they've transitioned.
Yes.
So the interesting thing.
I'm sorry. It's too entertaining of a mental image. Well, it's more of a subtle just.
It could be. It's because it's processing.
Yeah, it's your beer antennae. That's what it is.
This is a tough one. Let's see if we can do this. Talk just for a moment about like the carbonation itself. Like I think the carbonation itself is quite special. Like especially you can see it also on the head and how this beer has been out like for a while. Like and you can still see a good head retention. There's not too much obviously, but there's still a layer of foam on top of it, which is. But
you can see how the beer is still alive and active as well, too. Like if you swirl it around your glass a little bit, it's not flat.
It's not flat, right?
Even though it's been open for 10, 15 minutes.
So there is clearly a lot of thought that has been put into the way this carbonation has been produced. And I think that it's a very live carbonation. And I think that it cleanses the palate very nicely. It has a very unique mouthfeel. There is just a tiny bit of oily stickiness. Like I hate to call it oily because it's not fair. It's just like tending. Let's put it this way: it's tending towards a slight sweetness. You can see how a lot of people might like enjoy that. Like for me, it's just like pushing it a little bit too far. I think I'm going to stay with the 2.5 because it's still very well done, but not quite to get to a 3. What do you think, my friend?
I think, we just described it perfectly. I think this beer is like the other Sierra Nevada beer that I've tried. The beer is almost like very alive. And even if when you have it open for 10, 15 minutes, it's still very carbonated, very bubbly, but not just in the head. I mean, in the beer itself, the head is one thing, but when you take a sip, it's effervescent. It's voluminous. It's very alive. Sierra Nevada just does that with their beer so well. It's such a high quality beer. As far as IPAs go, I think a 2.5 is really fair. I'm going to stick with that as well, buddy. But now the finish in this beer is interesting.
I think the finish of this beer is a great example of a beer that can take you into a journey. Like it's...
On a walk through the woods.
Yes. Which, depending on what you like about beer, can be a good walk or a bad walk. But regardless, it's an exploration. And I think that if you have the patience to give it a moment in between sips, you really find that this voyage is quite fascinating because it starts almost like with that initial cakey, almost like sweet, malty presence. But then it evolves into this floral, raisiny, and slightly piney, and then slowly leaves the presence for a classic, what now like can be defined a classic West Coast IPA finish. But what the beauty is that it's not only that, which I find a lot of other beers, like it's the only thing you can taste from the moment you've taken the sip all the way through. That's all there is. Here there's a bit of a journey, and I think that's quite remarkable. So actually on the finish, I'm going to go with a 3, my friend.
Whoa.
I really enjoy this. It's not my style, like if it's the thing that I would choose, but it's very well done. And a lot of other people are imitating it, I think.
I see what you mean, and I agree with you. It's not my preferred style, and I'm surprised that it's scored as high as it has, just subjectively. It's not our preferred style of beer going into this, but you can tell there's a certain mastery of there's a certain quality to the manufacturing here of this beer, to the production of it. It's masterfully done, as we like to say. I think you described it perfectly. I can't add anything to that. It takes you on a nice walk through the woods, a nice stroll through the woods. And it's evolves, starts with that strong bitterness, and then you get that piney residue, and you got a little bit of malt, a little bit of raisiny, dark fruit character. It's great, but you know what? I got to say, and I got to be brutally honest here, and I got to just say subjectively, the finish is the main thing that turns me off of IPAs. And even though this is interesting as an IPA finish, if I'm looking at the beer experience that I'm having right now today with you, buddy, to what degree am I enjoying the finish on this beer? I'm going to give it a 2, but in context, most IPAs for me would get a 1 or a 1.5 on the finish. So for this to get a 2, for me, subjectively, means it's really good. Now, as an overall beer experience for the Sierra Nevada Torpedo, what do you think?
That's always the question. Coming back now and revisiting it after having tried a lot of other beers that are labeled as West Coast, or not labeled, but like look towards the West Coast IPA style, I can see how there's a different quality here. It's not like a style that I personally seek, but regardless of that, I recognize the quality. I think I'm going to go with the 2.5, my friend, because I think it's well done. It takes you on a journey. There's a lot of different elements. It's not only about hops. I think even though like obviously it's mainly about hops, but it's not only about that. I think that deserves a shout out. What do you think?
I think that's a very fair assessment. The fact that it's not all about the hops, even though it's an extra IPA. The hops are obviously very present, but there's so much more character to this beer than there is in just any other strong IPA. So you know what? I'm torn here. I think
take another reading if you're torn.
Oh, I've taken a lot of readings. I'm almost done the beer. I've been very much enjoying it. And I think that's a good indicator. Because I've been enjoying it so much, I've been going back to the glass. I'm going to go with a 2. And the reason for that is, the aroma knocked it out of the park for me. The taste, the mouthfeel dropped a little bit. The finish, IPAs, for me, it fell into that 2 category. If I look at an overall beer experience from beginning to end, I just don't enjoy this style of beer. I can objectively look at it. It's a 2 on 3, which is still a very good score. My friend, still a very good score, but I'm sticking with a 2. All right. So calculating our final scores here for Alessandro, it came out to a 4.5 on 5, which is an outstanding beer in our beer rating system. This is one of those reviews, everybody, where we have a little bit of a discrepancy. For me, it's a little bit lower. 0.5 lower, actually. Comes out to a 4 on 5, which in our rating system is still an excellent beer. And I think those descriptors are perfect. Outstanding, excellent. I think this beer deserves those descriptors extremely, extremely well. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, for this amazing review. This was so much fun. I'm so happy this beer that we thought we might not ever get to review, we finally got to review it. Let us know down below, what do you think of the Sierra Nevada Torpedo Extra IPA? And whatever you do, click that subscribe button, but also click that beer bell, that little beer bell down there. Because you don't click that beer bell, YouTube's not going to let you know when we're having a beer. And if YouTube's not letting you know when we have a beer, you're not going to be able to have a beer along with us in this beautiful Beer Brackets pub.
Click it. Click it.
So join us.
It's down here. Click it.
It's right down there. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Don't forget to close your
Never
beer brackets.
forget.